Alright, welcome. So I'm going to start this off with a few bits of information here for everyone, as this is a new channel. The channel itself is going to be called 2-Bit Reviews, and my name is Keegan, also known as Keegan at Real. It's kind of a nickname I've had over the last while. And this channel I'm starting up is to do movie reviews. Now I know there's thousands upon thousands of reviews out there, but I want to do the movie review for the normal people, the people that don't care about cinematography or how long this one shot took or the color composition of a shot or things like that. I mean, obviously there's going to be things that I'll mention that may have to do with, a beautiful looking scene, something like that, but nothing too crazy, because I myself am just an average guy that loves to watch movies. I've been into movies since I was 8-9 years old. I haven't stopped watching since. Joined Columbia House, which was a rip-off, obviously, but there's always been things that have kept me into movies, and I know it's just something that I have a passion for. So I'm hoping that I can relay at least some information on to people so that maybe they'll go see a movie they never would have seen before. And if they enjoy it, great. If they don't, maybe it wasn't for them, but at least you went out and tried it. So I'm just going to be doing a basic rating system for all the movies I do, suggesting either go see it in theater right now or, rent the movie when it comes out, if renting, iTunes, Netflix, whatever. Buy the movie as soon as it comes out, because I feel that you'll watch it multiple times down the line, or skip it completely. There's not a lot of movies I may say skip it completely, because there's usually something in each movie that someone can relate to. So on to that, I will also kind of let who the target audience is going to be for that movie. So like I mentioned with the B-horror movies. So the first movie I'm going to review here is Deliver Us from Evil. Now this, I would say, is delivered more towards kind of the generic crowd of moviegoers. It's not in any kind of weird niche. It's a generally good creepy movie, so as long as you enjoy a creepy movie and get scared a bit, then I would suggest this is kind of where it's aimed. Alright, so let's start that off. So Deliver Us from Evil, it was kind of weird because I didn't see anything about it much in advertising. I saw a few things online, a couple things, on Reddit, things like that, but nothing in general. So I would think that I really started looking into it if I wanted to watch it last week. So, and it actually comes out on Blu-ray and DVD today, which is October 28th. So I decided to give it a shot. Now for these reviews, I'm going to try and keep them fairly spoiler-free. I don't want to give away the entire plot of the movie in my review, because what's the point of going to see it after that? I'll obviously reference some parts of the movies and specific scenes, but I'll try not to give any plot twists, anything major out. So the movie starts off pretty unexpectedly. It starts off in kind of like a war-torn Middle Eastern country with a couple of commandos, and it made me feel like I was watching Black Hawk Down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but didn't do much for me. But there was a few quick jumpy scares right off the bat there, and it didn't really lead much into the movie, and then cut away. So after that weird out-of-place intro, we are introduced to Eric Bana's character, who is the main star of the movie. His accent is pretty good for an American. He usually is pretty good with his accents, considering he's native New Zealander. After a while, you realize his character is kind of the typical, always known kind of badass cop that wants to save the world, and there's always that guy, he just has to do what's right. His partner is played by Joel McHale, which, if you know him, he's on Community, he did The Soup, he's been on a lot of stuff. He was in Ted, if anyone saw that. A terrible movie. And as most movies that I've ever seen him in, he's comedy relief. That's what he's there for, and he does a pretty good job with it. As the movie slowly progresses along, the story kind of pitter-patters all the way up, slowly going, and slowly it ramps up the creepy supernatural theme. It does a good job of it, but it is a bit slow, and I think some people may have a problem with that, because really there's 30 to 40 minutes of just story and not much really happening and things like that. I didn't mind it. I thought that it kind of led up to a really good point in the movie, but some people may find it slow, which is understandable. Later on, you do find out Eric Bana has a wife and a kid. His wife's played by Olivia Munn, who, her performance was fine, but I haven't really ever seen her in a movie where she had to actually act very much, and this movie was the same. So I'm excited to see something in the future from her, but she was fine in this movie. So about halfway into the movie, it really starts to come into its own and get creepier and creepier and creepier, and does a really good job. And there's these weird kind of this theme that continues to happen throughout the movie that has to do with the Doors, as in the Jim Morrison band. So there's a lot of music for the Doors. There's also kind of like scripture and things like that from the Doors that tie in with the movie, and it does a really good job. It gives us this weird air of creepy supernatural that makes you kind of think twice about the Doors. Break on through to the other side is, like that kind of thing. So I really did enjoy that. They did a good job with that. And the one thing that really stuck out about this movie was the special effects. So I'm kind of a purist when it comes to special effects, if it's a traditional special effects versus a computer generated or CG special effects. This movie kind of did a mixture of both, but I think where it counted, they did the traditional, using blood packets and using, artificial gore, things like that. And I love that. I when it comes to action movie and horror movies, I just can't say enough when it comes to them using traditional effects. Computer generated effects are great, and they have places with certain things for sure, but I find it can really take me out of the movie personally. But this movie manages to do a good job of kind of blending them well. So one of the other characters in the movie is Edgar Ramirez. Seen him in a few things before, and I did find him enjoyable in the movie. He played, your typical priest that's involved in kind of the dark side of religion. It's not your typical kind of Sunday do your Hail Marys kind of thing. He deals with more evil and supernatural, and he did a pretty good job in the movie. I would say that, if anything, his character was a bit too two-dimensional, didn't really grow much. Right from the start, he's this guy that drinks, and it doesn't build upon his character a lot, but nothing to say against him as an actor. Overall, I have to say I did really enjoy this movie. It wasn't well reviewed. I tend to take reviews with a grain of salt, though, as it's just one person's review, and I think everyone should make their own opinions. Granted, sites like Rotten Tomatoes are a good idea of the general consensus of the movie, as they do the, fresh or rotten, and then kind of base it on how many people said fresh, how many people said rotten. That's the percentage you get, so it's a good or no kind of thing. I'll still see whatever is interesting and whatever I think may be interesting, whether or not the Rotten Tomato was 0% or 100%. So, I want to speak a bit too as well on the cover of this movie, and mentioned before in some of the trailers, is they say that it's based on true events. I always find this just a bit ridiculous, because the concept of this movie is based on a man named Ralph Sarchie. Now, Ralph Sarchie is who Eric Bana's character is based on. And outside of Ralph Sarchie being a police officer, he actually did become a demonologist and actually performed some exorcisms after he left the force. Now, none of the events in this movie actually happened to Ralph Sarchie, as far as I'm aware, the research I could see. It was just all based on the fact that when Ralph Sarchie became a demonologist, he experienced these supernatural things that were very strange, and they just kind of grabbed from that and put them into the movie. And I personally don't believe in a lot of that supernatural, that kind of stuff. That's just something I've never experienced it myself, so I'm not going to believe it until I see it. But I enjoy to be taken to this type of world for a couple hours of time to enjoy a movie, and at that point they did a really good job. But otherwise, I think the based on true events thing is just it's a way to sell movies, which I understand, but still, it's a bit misleading in my opinion. So for Deliver Us from Evil, as a scale here, I would say that it's worth a rent if you enjoy a decent horror movie. If you like to be creeped out, kind of kept on the edge, and do that kind of stuff, I would say rent it at least. It is enjoyable. So yeah, this is the first review. If you have any comments or suggestions for movies you want me to do in the future, let me know. Anything to say, whatever, I'll take any feedback anyone has. I'm going to try and do one newer movie each week, and then one classic or retro movie each week that I love. So you may hear me fanboy out a bit with those ones and get a little crazy, but I hope that my passion for the movies really shows through on those. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to it, and if you liked the video, just like it and share it. I hope you liked it, and make sure you keep it real, and